Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Alan Ruff is alongside Tam McManus and Alison McConnell. If you want to join us on a regular basis, don't forget, Monday to Friday at 4 o'clock live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. You'll get all the notifications of our latest unique video content. There's lots of good stuff there. Dream teams, Tam's picked his dream team, Alison's picked hers, so is Ruffy. We've all chipped in, and there's more other features to come that I think you'll enjoy. We've got a one-to-one with Gordon Strachan on there, and lots of other great archive content surrounding Scottish football and beyond. So lots to talk about. Of course, there was a weekend of Scottish Cup fixtures. We'll get to that shortly, but of course the fallout from not only Scottish Cup fixtures but other matches has prompted some chairmen, some chief executives, some owners to wield the axe and get rid of their managers. One of them in particular happens to be Stephen Glass. After that 2-1 defeat to Motherwell, Dave Cormack decided, Ruffy, enough was enough.
I thought we were going to Aberdeen there. I thought we were going for this view there.
No,
I was looking at his face there. He was a very morbid looking.
We're going to him shortly. Calm your jets. I know we can see his face, but let's just try and get him on a high first before we get him on a low. Andrew Shiney's not too far away, but Ruffy.
No, I thought he would have been given a wee bit more time, but as we see in Scottish football, when supporters start venting their anger, you know, and the new owner or that owner came over from America specifically to see the game, and he's there and he's watching it all, and they obviously had a discussion after it, I would like to think with the manager as well, and it's just not happening. The results are there. They'll expect a lot more for their investment, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, Tam, I know he's your old mate, but I thought they would. The stats don't lie. 14 wins. I mean, the win percentage alone is 35%. I thought they would wield the axe if he lost to Motherwell.
Yeah, listen, I feel sorry for him. I know he's come in and he'd high hopes of doing well, you know, at Aberdeen, but you know, as I said, the stats don't lie. You know, I think they sacked Derek McManus into over a 50% win record. Jack Ross gets sacked at Hibs. I think his was 51% win record. So Stevens is well down, you know, 35%. 11 months, you know, doesn't seem a long time, you know, as a manager. But he's had 2 windows. You know, they've had a few poor results. And he's just got to take it in the chin, and hopefully he learns from it and goes in somewhere else. But I feel sorry for him. I wanted him to do well, but it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, over and above that, Barry Robson in interim charge at the moment until they start looking for a new boss, and even he accepts that Stephen Glass losing his job, it was all about the stats.
Who wants to be a manager? I think that's it. Listen, this is the toughest gig ever, and it's getting tougher. And if you want to be a manager, you sign up for that. You sign up for, like, you've got a fair chance that you're going to lose your job. So many things you need to deal with. So many things can go wrong, but obviously so many things that can go right as well. Listen, it's a great job. Things are going well. No so great when it isn't. But for a young coach, any young manager, you need to have thick skin. You need to have a lot of belief.
Yeah, I'm amazed actually Barry was able to get a smile, because it's been a tough weekend for them there. Overall though, I'm looking at Ali and I'm looking at the football as well. You wanted to see some signs that there was maybe a style, you know, emerging from Stephen Glass's side. I didn't see that, and the one thing that really went against him, I thought the back line really was where the big problems. If you're losing goals all the time and you can't get back into games, that's where I think he was undone.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that front, and I think they've not been helped to Joe Lewis being out injured as well, and Gary Woods coming in. I think he's looked quite vulnerable as well in recent games, but over the piece I would agree. I think the back line has looked susceptible over the course of the campaign, but like you, I was at Aberdeen against Livingston last weekend, and I felt as though the writing was on the wall. I felt as though it was a huge week if they didn't come through against Celtic and against Motherwell. I felt as though it had an air of inevitability about it. I think once fans turn and make their feelings clear, I think it can be very difficult to turn that tide, if not impossible.
Well, since we actually brought Andrew Shiney on board, it's been a tough old Monday for him on a regular basis watching them. But listen, Andrew, let's cut to the chase. Nobody likes to see a manager lose their job. And in your time reporting up there, you've seen a few come and go.
I have indeed, Peter. I think it's about 11 at the last count. But yeah, it's always sad to see a manager go, particularly a guy like Stephen, who I've known since he was 16, 17-year-old. And I think he gave it his best shot. He was inexperienced. It was always a bit of an experiment, but it just didn't work out. The only consistency about Aberdeen's season has been their inconsistency. I mean, they started off 5 wins in the first 6. Great. Then no wins in the next 10. You're out of Europe, you're out of the League Cup to Raith Rovers. Then you beat Hibs and Hearts and draw at Ibrox when the 3 clubs were playing well. Follow that with 3 defeats in the bounce. Then you have 5 wins in 7 games. And now they've gone on a run of 4 defeats in 5 games, out of the Scottish Cup, down to the 9th in the table. And you know, Stephen was starting to sound a bit like a broken record. Unacceptable, poor mentality, cheap goals conceded, and for whatever reason, he just couldn't get it turned round, and the axe had to fall.
Yeah. What did you make of the fact that I couldn't really see a style developing, and I wondered about some of the players. And by the way, Andrew, I mean, you'll know better than any. I'm looking here and I'm thinking to myself, well, he can't actually come out and say, well, Dave Cormack never backed him. Christian Ramirez, Scott Brown, Declan Gallagher, David Bates, Jack Gurd, J. Emmanuel Thomas, Teddy Jenks, and then of course over and above that, Marley Watkins, Matty Longstaff, Austin Samuels. He backed him.
He backed him, but go through that list of players again, Peter, and put ticks against those who have produced the goods. I think you only give a tick to Scott Brown and Christian Ramirez. An awful lot of the rest of them contributed very little and continue to contribute very little. I think injuries didn't help. Key players like Andrew Considine, Niall McGinn getting older, being jettisoned obviously to Dundee, Matty Kennedy being injured. But you're right, in terms of style, it hasn't really developed at all as the season has gone on. And unfortunately, instead of looking at a table and saying we're only 4 points away from 4th place in the table, Aberdeen supporters are looking now and saying we're only 3 points away from 10th place. I mean, I'm starting to sound like a broken record. I'm saying the same thing every week as well. But until such time as they get something turned around in the pitch, that's going to be the story of Aberdeen's season. So it's a huge job for Barry Robson, with Neil Simpson, Scott Anderson and Scott Brown, to try and get the players up for what is now an absolutely massive game against St Johnstone tomorrow night, because St Johnstone, having hit bottom of the table, will be looking to bounce back. Aberdeen have got to bounce back from this really poor run since the turn of the year. But if there's one team that you don't want to play in pretty dreich weather as is forecast for tomorrow, it's St Johnstone.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't argue with you there, Andrew. Andrew, hang fire. I want you to stay there because I want to get your opinion. You know, as ever, when a manager gets the sack, you know, the king is dead, long live the king. We all start speculating on who's going to get the job. Here's the runners and riders so far. Somebody could come out of left field from Dave Cormack. Jack Ross 3-1. He's interested. Jim Goodwin at 4-1. Scott Brown 5-1. I have my doubts about whether they'd elevate him so quickly. Barry Robson in there at 5-1. Neil Lennon 6-1. And of course the bookies like to throw in the odd name. Gordon Strachan at 7-1. Now, with all due respect, if they got Gordon Strachan, I think he'd solve the problems quickly, because I've got nothing but the utmost respect for him, Ruffy, as a coach, but he's not in the game to get back into management in my book. Where do you think they should be looking? Is it somebody who understands the Scottish game?
Well, it's absolutely amazing that a year ago Callum Davison's name would have been up on that board.
Favourite.
Last favourite, you know, and it's amazing how things can change in that space of time. Jack Ross, I thought he did particularly well at Hibs. Okay, he went on a wee run where it never happened for him, but I think in stature, listening to his interviews, I think he'll be ideal. I know Neil Lennon would be interested in it. It's not the first time ex-Celtic managers went up there and did particularly well, so I'm sure he'll get an interview.
Yeah, it's an interesting take on it. Ali?
Yeah, I think there might be a desire now to go for a fairly experienced head, just given the fact that it's been such a disappointing appointment. I think so much was expected, and at the time it was lauded as a fairly adventurous appointment and trying something new. I wonder if there might just be now a move to bring in someone who understands the league and who knows the demands just about where Aberdeen should be and making sure that they are established as that third force in Scottish football.
But I mean, Tam, would it be a Jack Ross? Jack Ross has, to all intents and purposes, failed at Hibs.
I don't think he failed at Hibs.
No?
No, I don't think he failed at Hibs. I think he'd, as I said, I think he'd over a 50% win record. I think he got to cup finals. You know, it's no easy to win a cup outside the Old Firm. He got to finals, he finished third in the league, you know, for the first time in 15 years.
So wrongly sacked? I
think he was wrongly sacked. Yeah, I think they pulled the trigger too early on Jack Ross because he went on one bad run, 9 games without a win. But that is modern day football. When you're at Hibs, when you're at Hearts, when you're at Aberdeen, you cannot afford to go on a 9 or 10 game run without a win, because the fans will just, they will start to cause unrest, and the board hear that and they'll react to that.
Well, if he's not a failure, do you think Aberdeen fans are going to suddenly take to him then?
I don't know if the Aberdeen fans would. You know, for me, I'm looking at him, Jim Goodwin. You know, the one I was thinking about, and it's because his baggage, he's probably not been mentioned, was Mackay. You know, Mackay, because his baggage is not getting mentioned, but for me, he's done a great job at Ross County. You know, he's a talented manager. He's one that I think should be in the mix for the job as well. But Callum Davison, again, Ruffy's right. You know, if you go back 6 months, he'd have been a favourite. He'd have got the job, no problem. But they've been in a poor run, so they could go Neil Lennon and Scott Brown. I don't think Brownie will get it just now. I don't think he's ready. He's not been doing a lot of coaching, but could he come in as a shadow coach for Neil Lennon? So there's a lot of interesting ones there.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. Andrew, you're the man with your finger on the pulse, and of course, having watched Aberdeen and assessed some of the people we've been talking about, I mean, if you were real ambition and you were talking about a man who's got a great coaching pedigree, what Malky and Mackay's doing at Ross County is amazing. Is it a Jim Goodwin? Is it a Jack Ross? Who's in your mind?
If I had to pin my colours to one mast, it would be to Jim Goodwin, because I think he's done a fantastic job down at St Mirren. You know, they had their bad spell, like everybody has had this season, but since the turn of the year, when he changed the formation, I think he's got St Mirren playing some great football. He's operated in a shoestring budget, and I think he would be a good fit for Aberdeen, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of money getting splashed about because of the current situation. Aberdeen struggling down in 9th place. The fans aren't going to turn out to watch a team that is struggling against relegation, unless it comes to the crunch like it did back in '95, when, you know, they had to win their last couple of games to avoid being relegated for the first time ever, and the whole city got behind them. I don't think we've reached that point yet, and there's an apathy amongst the support that suggests to me that tomorrow night, for example, I don't expect there to be a crowd of more than about 7,000 at Pittodrie. But Jim Goodwin, for me, is the standout, but he would have to be bought from St Mirren, where Jack Ross is a free agent. Both have done good jobs, but as I say, if I had to plump for one, I'd go for Goodwin.
Yeah, interesting.
It's amazing the timing in football, isn't it?
Oh.
You know, if it was before the winter break, Jim Goodwin couldn't win a game at St Mirren. You know, now they're on a great run. He's getting mentioned as a favourite. Callum Davidson's went the other way. Timing is everything. When you're hot, you know, you've got to strike. When somebody wants you and you're doing particularly well, I always think you should go. Yeah, but sometimes I think the proof is in the pudding, Ruffy, and you don't let your eyes deceive you. I understand where Tam's coming from if you're on a bad run. But when you watch a team and you see what they're doing, and you see sometimes the players that are missing, you know, that Jim Goodwin was missing and the circumstances that he was under, then I watched as Ross County. I watched Ross County and I saw them playing really good football early in the season. 2 or 3 times I was at games where they were involved, and I thought, again, this will come good because I can see a style about it. That's what Aberdeen needs somebody to come in, Ruffy, and say, right, this is the structure, this is the way we're going to play football, and these are the players I'm going to use to give us that style. I didn't see that with Stephen Glass, but I think that's what they need, somebody who knows the style they're going to play. And not lose games and not lose goals first and foremost. Yeah, well, initially I thought his format was good. As Ali said, they're a decent goalkeeper. He hasn't been in the form that he was last year. The reason Scott Brown was taken up there was to monitor McCrory in midfield and Ferguson, the 2 young ones, bring them on. That hasn't happened because one of them's went back to centre half.
You know, the only plus for me is Ramirez. I think Ramirez has been a great signing.
Yeah.
And I think he's really come onto a game now. But they haven't had a McGinn. They haven't had anybody with any pace. They haven't had any, you know, the ones that you've read out there. I don't think any of them not majority of them that really held down a place.
Yeah.
You know, that he signed there. There's not one of them will get a long run in the team.
Peter mentioned 10 names, 10 signings, and there was only 2 of them that were successful, in my opinion, Brown and Ramirez. So when you're recruiting as a manager, you live and die by recruitment. You're not going to get everyone right, but you've got to get more right than you do wrong. And Stephen, unfortunately, get more wrong than he done right.
I think Brown's been I'm not saying a huge success, but I think he's certainly not been a failure, Ruffy.
No, he's been used as a utility. He's been used at the back. He's been using the front of the back four. He's been used in midfield. He's just did what Scott Brown did.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think the minute you start saying to Scott Brown, drop into the back of the central defence, I think you know you've got problems in the back line.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think you know where he's best suited, and that it's not there.
Yeah. Okay, listen, it's always good to speak to Andrew, and I know he's going to be looking on with great interest at a game, and I think Andrew set it up brilliantly, saying that they need to get that win against St Johnstone. I get the feeling, Andrew, you don't anticipate too many fans going down there. So another aspect of this, Andrew, is the appointment has to be someone that galvanises the support maybe and gets them excited. Can you see Dave Cormack making that jump?
I think he's got to, Peter, because he's under pressure himself, because of course Stephen was his appointment. I think it was an ill-judged comment to say that Stephen Glass was the outstanding candidate from a list from all around the world. I think that beggared belief, to be quite honest. I mean, I've got a huge amount of time for Stephen, a lovely guy. Just, it was the wrong place at the wrong time for him. But Dave Cormack has got to make an appointment that wins over the fans, because, you know, love them or hate them, fans have got a huge say in the direction that a football club goes nowadays. Now, people within the game will say they don't know what they're talking about, but they're the loudest voice, and boards of directors listen to them. So you're right, he's got to make an appointment that excites the fans, and I hope that Jim Goodwin can do that. I think he's a fiery kind of character. He can, although he's very reserved in his judgment of games, I think, you know, he'll get the fire in the belly in the dressing room.
Yeah, okay, we wait to see. Always good to speak to Andrew about all things Aberdeen up there in the northeast. We will see who's going to get the appointment there and whether the Aberdeen fans rally behind them. Good to speak to Andrew. Let's have a look at what happened over the weekend. Here's the Scottish Cup results. Of course, there's still one outstanding one. Hearts, in the end, get through 4-3 in penalties against Livingston. Motherwell 2, Aberdeen 1 is the result that finally brought the axe down on Stephen Glass. Just one goal separated Partick Thistle and Dundee United, and it was Hearts who got the all-important one for United. St Mirren comfortable in the end by 4-0 against Kelty Hearts. Annan 0, Rangers 3. It was an easy enough job, done and dusted really by the first half for Rangers. Arbroath 1, Hibernian 3, Dick Campbell's run, and all the focus of attention comes to an end because Hibs got the goals they needed in a very good and comfortable performance. And Celtic, again, 4-0 against Raith Rovers. One match outstanding, Peterhead against Dundee tonight. We'll find out who wins that match and we'll get the overall draw. So of those games, Ruffy, hard done by? Is it another case? Me and Tam are waiting for it. We battered them. We played magnificent football and we lost.
No, I think
Just do the same interview every week.
I know, exactly.
no, I don't think we were unlucky. I thought we deserved to at least take it to extra time, and whatever happened after that, the ball just wouldn't drop for us. I think we were the dominant side. Yeah, you can bring the pitch into it if you want, but as the old saying goes, it's the same for both sides. You know, the elements, so you've got to handle the circumstances there. No, it was just a day that never fell for us, and I'm sure Dundee United at the end of the day were happy to get out of there because they weren't the better side.
Yeah, Ali, you were there at that game. I know you've voiced your concern that Ruffy did not bring over any food for you whatsoever. There was no luxuries, especially when you've built up such a great relationship with him. Yeah,
Quinoa.
I know exactly. I loved Ian McCall's line at the end of it. We battered them.
To be fair, I think I would agree with Ruffy. I thought they deserved at least to take it to extra time. I thought in the second half, particularly, they had 3 very good chances, and I think Benjamin Siegrist did a couple of very good saves too. I think the pitch, I cannot overstate the pitch and the effect and the contribution it makes to teams that play on it. It is desperate. It is like something you see in a 1970s clip of on Match of the Day. It's so heavy and boggy in places, and both flanks are particularly heavy. But I thought Thistle played well. I thought Scott Tiffany was excellent. I thought he played very well. I thought Siegrist played well for Dundee United. Yeah. And I think United will see it as just a case of getting through and getting into the quarter-finals and putting it behind them. Yeah, I know you wrote a column for us today, Ali, on PLZ Soccer, and you called for the Thistle board to resign for allowing that pitch to get in that stage. Wouldn't it have been great if you just written that column, eh?
Greed.
Yeah, greed, that's what it's all about, eh? Terrible.
Back earlier tomorrow night.
Pitch, will you?
Just trying to help another club out.
Yeah, exactly. Any positives, Dundee United? Good goal. It was a good goal. I think it was one moment of quality within the game. I think he'd messed up something just a few minutes beforehand. Stuart Bannigan had gifted possession and he'd an opportunity. I think he had it in his mind as soon as it was falling to him there again. He was just hitting it. He caught it very sweet. A good goal. Yeah, okay. So Dundee United march on. Hearts, it took penalties. Craig Gordon made one of his usual bog standard saves, and in the end they got there.
Yeah, they did. I think it was always going to be a tight game. You know, I said it on Friday. I thought that would go all the way. Livingston have been excellent this season. They're hard to beat. They're really hard to break down. And in the cup, it's all about getting into the next round. Doesn't matter if you win 5-0 or you win in penalties. The performance is poor or good. The only thing that matters is you're in the hat. And Hearts will be delighted to scrape by in penalty kicks. And when it goes to penalties, you're always looking at goalkeepers for me. And for me, they've got probably the best, if not one of the best in the league. Yeah, Gordon. Hearts are through, Hibs are through as well. Kevin McFarlane always likes to post a wee message to see if he can annoy the life out of me. He says, Peter, Ryan Porteous was brilliant on Sunday against Arbroath. No, he was, he played well. Listen, I thought it was a very good performance from Hibs. Yeah. I think losing that early goal, there's no doubt that there was a lot of people looking at that game going, oh, here we go again. You know, did your bottle crash at that point? Yeah, did I? Yeah. Just because of the run Hibs are on, they don't look like scoring, but played really well, kept their composure, kept passing the ball, you know, in between the lines. The surface was not bad actually. I think the wind wasn't as bad as it's been as well, so that helped. But I thought Hibs played some lovely football. They got 3 goals, could have scored 5 or 6. The goalkeeper, you know, saved them at the start of the second half. A couple of good saves. You know, Hibs switched off, but I think it was a much needed performance for the manager, much needed performance for some of the players. Kevin Nisbet scored a great goal. You know, hopefully that's him, can start on a run now, you know, to give him confidence. But I thought all round it was a really, really good Hibs performance. Yeah, Ruffy, just on that point, I mean, Nisbet needed a goal, but I like the boy Jasper. He looked as if he was lively. Yeah, I mean, they obviously need somebody like that with them. They're losing Boyle, you know, they need somebody that gets the fans off their seat. He certainly looks as if he's that kind of player. I'd not disagreed with Tom, but I thought Hibs were very fortunate in the second half. That shot hit off the goalkeeper's heel. He knew nothing about it, and if they'd have went 2 up, but then it would have been a right interesting game. I know Hibs had a lot of possession, but as you say, in cup games it's about taking your chances. Yeah, and in the end they got through comfortably by 3-1. Although it was a brilliant story. If you ever want to you know, come up with someone, a character, and get everybody in the media interested, Dick Campbell's the man to do it, because there was tremendous excitement around it. There was focus on Arbroath and what they were doing, and deservedly so because of their exploits at the top of the championship. Yeah, I think he's a character. I think he brings a bit of personality to it. I think obviously compounding the expectations too when you look at the teams he's up against and the superior budgets in the championship and how well that they've done to be in the position that they are. So I think there's a great deal of focus on them just now, and I think he just brings a bit of colour to interviews. I think we all enjoy that when there's a bit of personality that comes through. Yeah, he's a good lad. I mean, he's funny, but he's a good coach.
His record's there for everybody to see. And I don't know how many divisions it is he's won, but it's much more than anybody else has come through these divisions.
Yeah. Well, let's phone him and he'll tell us exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Probably will.
He's not slow to mention it.
Absolutely.
But he's very fortunate. That team's been together now for 3 or 4 years. You know, there hasn't been much chopping and changing, and you can see they all know how to play for each other. I like the boy McKenna. I think he could go up a grade. No problem at all.
Do you remember we had Nicky Lowe in here, by the way, and he was built like that. I actually thought at one point he wasn't actually going to get the shirt on. Nicky looks a bit more chunky now, by the way. Great to see him back playing though.
And he gets about the park as well. Yeah. Anybody in the midfield they'll know they're in a game with him running about.
Yep. Okay, so the Hibbies are through, the Jambos are through, St Mirren through as well, and of course Jim Goodwin. I think a lot of people were thinking maybe Kelty would give them a game. It didn't turn out that way, Ali.
Yeah, I thought it was very comfortable for them. I think sometimes just when you get off to a positive start and then there's no sense of an upset, but I thought they played very well. I think again they'll just be glad to negotiate it, make sure you're in the quarterfinals, and I think St Mirren fans have a whole fresh anxiety over something entirely different now about whether or not Jim Goodwin will still be there.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that sometimes obviously if it's a surface you've got to assess the surface, you've got to assess your conditions. We talk about football purists. If Kelty are starting to worry about playing the ball out at the back, the fourth goal for me, I mean, see the amount of teams who clearly want to be football purists. If you just look back at the 70s, thump the ball into the stand, don't play it on the edge of your own 18-yard box for an easy tap-in.
It's nice when it comes off, everybody wants to play that way, but there's a time and a place, and I don't think hitting the ball across your 18-yard box is the place when you're getting beat 3-0. So, listen, you admire teams that try and play. But there is, Hibs are trying to do it, Hibs try and play out, and they've done it successfully at the weekend, but there's times where you've just got to put your foot through it, and you're under pressure, people are pressing you, you can't take risks, but I thought St Mirren scored some great goals. I thought Jordan Jones scored a great goal. He's a good signing, by the way. He was excellent against Hibs a couple of weeks ago. Him and young lad Grieve, they've got a wee bit of spark now up front. I think that's helped them, those signings. Jordan Jones, Grieve has gave St Mirren a real lease of life. Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, I'm glad you made it through today. I know Ruffy and you were struggling to get through. There was hundreds of Rangers protesters outside after Ali's column for PLZ. That took the heat off you, didn't it? Ali, well, listen, Ramsey played in the game. He's getting more and more minutes under his belt. What point were you trying to make that maybe was lost by paragraph 2?
My point was just that I think if it works, then obviously it looks like a good signing. But
signing of Aaron Ramsey,
yes. But I think when you look at his record over the last few seasons and the injury issues that he brings, I think he played 7 minutes since September for Juventus. I think what you need is someone who can come in and sustain a challenge between now and the end of the season. If it works, then I think obviously there'll be loads of applause that will go for Rangers for the signing, but if not, I think it can be a high profile signing that came in and just didn't quite get you over the line.
Yeah, it's not as if it's costing them a lot of money, Ruffy. We're unsure of the exact details on how much it's costing them, but nevertheless, he's in there. Rangers, I think, the general consensus was, especially from the Annan camp as well, Rangers should win this comfortably if you look at the strengths of both teams. And it was done and dusted by half-time for me.
Yeah, I mean, Rangers just went about their job. They changed so many positions and guys come in. And again, everybody that came in contributed, and it's one of these games that when the game's done in the first half, sometimes you take your foot off the pedal, and I think that's what Rangers did. There wasn't any worries at any moment in time in the Rangers camp through that game, but they would have liked to score a wee bit more goals. Yeah,
3-0. Nice to see Helander getting back on the score sheet and getting back. It's been a long injury out for him.
Missed him badly, I think. Yeah. I think his partnership last season with Goldson was the bedrock of Rangers is winning the league. I think their defensive record is outstanding. They've missed him. He gives you a balance. He's left-sided, and I think he gives you a better balance. They've obviously moved Bassi in there. I don't think he's a centre-half, and Barisic has been poor, so I think getting him back, getting game time, in his legs and getting game time in Ramsey's legs, the competition for places now at Rangers is huge. It's fierce, and when you get an opportunity, you've got to get in and you've got to take it.
Yeah, we always like to, and sometimes I read out some positive messages to Tam, and then I'll read out some who leather you. Same with yourself. Well, not many people actually don't like you, Ruffy. I can't think of anybody who's actually said. I can't actually think if I've ever read out somebody say I don't like Ruffy. He just does my head in. But apart from his wife, but I'm going to read this one out because I thought it was great. Stuart Derrick said, "Alison, I love you, but your voice goes right through me."
My husband don't know.
That's exactly. That's a pseudonym for your husband. That's brilliant. Yeah. Honestly, he's just fantastic. I thought I'd read that. It's not as bad as it could have been, Ali, to be honest with you.
There's a few more in there.
Oh, there will be. I'll read them out before we get to the end of it. Anyway, apart from anything else, one game that we haven't talked about was Celtic 4, Wraith Rovers 0. Scales, great goal, Ruffy. Giacomakis, I think you could see the relief written all over his face because he's had a few where he should have scored, but he's always hitting the target, just can't get the break, and he got it on Sunday.
Yeah, you can see him. He just wants to be right in the middle, and he wants any balls getting fired across. He wants to try and get in front of anybody, and that goal might just be, to kick him off, because he looks a big, powerful boy. I know he's a lot of pace in him, but certainly he's got an eye for goal, and with these two guys wide, he's going to get chances if they play him regularly. And yeah, I find him all right. I don't have any problems with him.
Yeah, of course, the ball through from Hatate to set Jota over before it got to Giacomakis was outrageous.
Yeah, I think that the second half, I think Celtic upped it. I think first half, as poor as I've seen Celtic in a while. I thought they were lethargic. I don't think they paid Wraith Rovers enough respect. I think they just thought they'd just turn up and cruise the game. Sloppy in possession. Not pressing Wraith Rovers. Everything that's been good about Celtic in the last couple of months. It wasn't happening in the first half, and 1-0. Wraith were still in the game, but I'd assume that he got right into a few people at half time and that dressing room and says, get the finger out, get the standards. There's a clip on social media about him. I don't know if you read it, saying get the effing ball forward. So he wasn't happy clearly in the first half. It was a wee bit sloppy and lackadaisical, but Celtic cruised it in the end. They upped it in the second half and Wraith couldn't live with them. Yeah,
because Ange Postecoglou is certainly not going to suffer just a 45-minute performance.
I just won't cop, people just putting in a 45-minute shift. That's not what it's about. So my frustration comes out, or I just feel that every time you put the shirt on and you play, and particularly the way we want to play, there's a price to pay for it, and that price is that you give everything you have for the time you're out there within the context of how we want to play.
Yeah, one thing I'm almost certain, Ali, I'd hate to be asking him for an early holiday because you're on, you give me 90 minutes and you give me everything, and by the way, if you want a wee break, it's the summer.
I think he's been fairly unambiguous about that since his very first day. I think Celtic released footage of that opening day training session up at Lennoxtown when he was pretty clear about the demands that he wanted, and I think he's stuck to that. You've seen it over the course of the campaign. The clip that Tam was talking about, I think it was quite amusing. I think it's maybe the first time you've really had a glimpse of how animated and angry he could get if it's not going well. But yeah, I think he places demands upon his players, and he's been quite clear about what those are.
Yeah, Mikey Johnson injured again, which is a blow, Ruffy, but Christopher Julian back pleased a lot of Celtic fans.
Oh, you could see the supporters when they come back. He's a big favourite, and I'm sure if he can get up to speed, he'll be another asset before the end of the season. Mickey Johnson, to me, every time he starts a game, he looks as if he's going to be Mr. Wonderful, and he does a couple of things and he just falls out the game. I think he needs to go to a team and get regular football, because I think he's got bags of ability. The thing I was going to ask you, Press, when you go to a press conference and you ask the Celtic manager a question and he answers you, and at the end of it he says, mate.
Yes.
Do you take that as that was a good question or that was a good answer?
I think if he says mate early on, he's trying to tell you that he's not happy with your question.
Gavs on a week,
oh, he's giving him
Gavs is feeling.
Gavs is going through a rope-a-dope at the moment. He's getting battered from pillar to post.
Gordon McLean's made a fair point there as well on your chat, if you want to read that one out.
Yeah, okay,
Gordon
let me see that. Well, that's what I love about you, Tam.
It's just right there.
You read
that one there.
Gordon says, Ruffy, I've spoken to you a couple of times in Cumbernauld Town Centre and found you were a wee bit ignorant. Yeah, I think that as well. Brilliant. Well done, Gordon. There you are. See if
If it was Georgina, you wouldn't have been England.
No, see if you coax them.
Yes.
If you coax them, they eventually just steam
Did
into
you ask
you.
Gordon if he's got one tooth? So I know who it is.
Which is such a great. Have you heard that story, Alex? Oh, this is fantastic. Brilliant, Ruffy. Thanks, Gordon, for that. I mean, I didn't actually call on people to start insulting Ruffy because you either like him or you don't. It's as simple as that. Anyway, on the flip side of that, and I think we've got to mention Raith Rovers. Sometimes teams can go and play Celtic and they don't want to play football, but John McGlynn's side, I think, deserve a bit of credit because they try to play that passing game that they're renowned for as well. A couple of chances, nothing really major.
Yeah, I like the way Raith Rovers try and play. You know, I like to see teams try to play football. A lot of teams just went to Celtic Park and played 4-5-1 and parked the bus, but they're pretty open. They had a go in terms of as much as you can have a go against Celtic. When they had opportunities to try to get forward, but I think Celtic had too much quality in the second half. But Raith Rovers are a good side. I think John McGlynn will be glad that the games are starting now. He's had to answer a lot of questions about the Good Willie saga. Now he's just wanting to get his head down and try and get Raith Rovers in the top four.
I'm glad you mentioned that because the Raith Rovers boss did mention that the players were able to focus despite all the media circus surrounding that alleged. Well, they tried to sign David Goodwillie. He reckons that the players were able to just take that away.
I think we can come out this stronger. The guys have put on a good show. Yeah, we're beaten, we're disappointed, of course, because never going to be happy losing. But you can take, positives from it: the discipline, the effort, the commitment. The guys showed that, and I think they showed that. It hasn't affected us.
Yeah, well, good luck to John McGinn. He's had a tough time on this one. Whether people think the manager is to blame for the move to sign David Goodwillie, or whether the board should have just nipped it in the bud. It's now finally put to bed, and Raith Rovers can get on with trying to build a few bridges, mend a few friendships that have maybe tarnished the club over the last couple of weeks. Anyway, Raith Rovers are out, Celtic are through. Celtic incidentally have released their financial figures, and again it's a huge 26 million profit on player sales alone. They made 27.6 million profit up to December 31st, which is amazing when you consider the circumstances of COVID and how it had an impact on many clubs. And they've got about let me see, in the bank, I think just over 16 million in the bank, which is good going.
Yeah, I think it's a policy that's worked particularly well over the last 2 decades. I think there were 17 players between the two windows since Ange Postecoglou's come in, and I think what you've seen is the money generated from the sale of Odsonne Edouard, Chris Ayer and Ryan Christie financed the rebuild that Ange Postecoglou was able to underway, and I think the Celtic board are never going to get much credit for the way that they operate, but in terms of the Celtic support, I think they come under a hell of a lot of criticism, but I think you would have to applaud it. I think that the club has always been, for the best part since the mid-90s to now, it's always been on a very solid financial footing. I think they've been able to absorb the implications of COVID and come out of it relatively unscathed. Yeah, in fact, I'm doing them with this service, Ruffy. Net bank balance is 25.6 million. So again, if one thing Celtic's board is all about is prudence.
Yeah, the prudence is there, but not only that, they've got the hindsight to look to the future. For the first time in a long time, they've brought in 5 or 6 players on 3 and 4 year contracts, which is good for the stability of the club and looking forward. A lot of young players as well. They've invested really well in what we've saw. There are some players there that could be sold on for a lot more than brought in. I think the Jota one and the Vickers one is something that the supporters want to see happening. I think that would just be the icing on the cake. Yeah, okay. We await the Scottish Cup draw after the game tonight between Peterhead and Dundee. Where's your money?
I think Dundee will be too strong. I think Dundee now have an unwanted record, don't they, for the longest period without winning the Scottish Cup. I think it was Hibs, now it's done. I don't think Dundee have won the Scottish Cup in well over 100 years now. So
I think it's time for me to put out a tweet, Tam.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying for Dundee to win the Scottish Cup this year, but it's one of the ones where you'd love to see Dundee at least get to a final. I think they went to win under Jim Duffy, so I think they'll win tonight. I think they've got too much quality for Peterhead, but it'll be a tasty tie.
Yeah, because as you know, Ruffy, every year on that exact date, when I posted when Hearts were 2-0 up at Tynecastle, I mean, I'm thinking, you're 2-0 up, you're at Tynecastle, the game's a bogey, Hibs still haven't won the Scottish Cup.
You Hibsed it.
I Hibsed it, honestly, and I couldn't believe it. I thought to myself, right, 2-0, they're out, you know, and they're still waiting to win the Scottish Cup. Would you believe it? They got it back to 2-2, and then I thought, oh no, here comes the replay. Pumped.
I don't think you could help Dundee at all by saying they're never going to win it, because they're not going to win it this year.
Thanks, Ruffy, you've saved me. There's the clip.
But I was really shocked to read that Jim McNally's got a 6-game ban. He can't be in the duck.
Oh, Jim's absolutely priceless. No quarter given by him. Anyway, who are you going for?
Dundee.
Yeah, Dundee. Okay. So Dundee will be the last team in the hat, unless, of course, Peterhead pull off that shock. Aberdeen St Johnstone, we did actually mention, we've all put our scores in. What did you go for tomorrow night's game, Ruffy?
I'm not impressed by Aberdeen, but I thought when Ramirez scored the first goal, if that one he'd chipped over the goalkeeper, it would have been in, they've won the game.
Yeah.
For me. So I'm going to hang on in with them. I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1 to Aberdeen. Yeah. Listen, St Johnstone, they need wins as well. And of course, Callum Davison did mention today, ahead of this game, that he has sympathy for the outgoing Aberdeen boss, but it's all about winning.
Unfortunately, that's the business we're in, and you know, really disappointed that he's lost the job. More as a friend and somebody I know and spoke to over the time, and you know, but that's our job. I've got enough to worry about at the moment at my place, so just need to make sure I try and start to win some games. So you know, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough business. It's one thing you don't do in football. If you're a manager, at some point you probably will get sacked.
Yeah, well, even Callum Davison's aware that the sack comes to the best of them. They've got to try and get a win. I've gone for Aberdeen to win 1-0, Ali. You're at the top of the predictor table at the moment. You've got your kind of a supercilious, condescending look on again that we've witnessed all season, Tam, I have to tell you. So where's your money?
I went Aberdeen 2-1 and then Ruffy copied me a few minutes later.
Yeah.
You
really are a snake, Ruffy. So you are.
Snake.
I think sometimes in the aftermath of a manager going, it galvanises a dressing room, and you get an immediate reaction, that you get a bounce. I think they're under a lot of pressure. I think they're at home. I think they'll get the win.
Yeah, okay then. We've all given our prediction. What do you think of it? Can Aberdeen finally get a win and, of course, get the ideal man to galvanise the support? Aberdeen against St Johnstone tomorrow. There's Champions League matches I'll get the boys' thoughts on as well, but Europa League this week is great. There's a wee bit of good news for Rangers, Ruffy. I mean, 5:45 kick-off on Thursday. Dortmund against Rangers, and Haaland looks as if he could be out of that match, which is a bonus. Not that I think they don't have enough strength again to take on Rangers without Haaland. They've got a lot of strength.
No, they've got a lot of quality as well. They obviously are, just by reading the people from over there, they're saying they're not playing as well or consistent as what they usually are. But certainly him not playing is a bonus to the Rangers defence, because we saw him on the top of a game. You know, he's getting to be one of the world class players. So no, it's a bonus for Rangers, but they've still got quality on their side.
Yeah, they're only second to Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. So when you consider the strength of German football and the strength of Scottish football, Rangers have got a difficult 90 minutes ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but what I would say is that is a massive boost for Rangers. Haaland not playing.
Yeah.
I watched Dortmund a couple of weeks ago. They lost heavily at home to Leverkusen. I think it was 5-2.
Yeah.
And they were terrible. So if Rangers can get them in that sort of form, then you know they've got an opportunity to get through, because Haaland's a big player for them.
Yeah, well, Johnny says on here on our feed, they're still a class outfit without Haaland, to be fair. They won 3-0 at the weekend, so they've managed to get goals as well from elsewhere on the pitch.
Yeah, I think it would be dangerous to look and think that everything comes through Haaland. He's obviously a huge player for them, hugely influential for them, but I don't think there's any doubt that they're an excellent side. Their pedigree is well known, and I think it would be foolish to underestimate them without Haaland.
Yeah.
Is Germany still restricting their fans, or are the Rangers fans okay for the...
It won't be a full house,
There's no,
I think.
no, that's a shame because it's a wonderful stadium.
Yeah, it's a brilliant stadium, Ruffy. I mean, it's great. It's got a great atmosphere as well. It's up there, I would think, in my top 10 stadiums for atmosphere when you get the fans who are absolutely bouncing.
It's probably the best. I've been to the Nou Camp, which probably was the best. But I went to, when I was in Scotland 21s, we went to the full squad game. I think it was 3-1 to Germany and it was full.
Did you think the Nou Camp was the best atmosphere ever?
Don't think it was the best atmosphere, but in terms of the stadium,
Yeah.
the sheer size of it, it was unbelievable. But Dortmund, that big stand behind the goal, which is the biggest, I think, single stand in Europe, is unbelievable. But nothing will beat that stadium last night at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was a...
$5 billion that cost. It's the most expensive stadium by about $3 billion.
Yeah.
What, is it Arsenal he owns?
Stan Kroenke, yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to take even a wee leaf out of the NFL and Scottish football, Ruffy. And I'm not suggesting for a minute the halftime entertainment's Dr. Dre and Eminem, but I mean they know how to manipulate the sponsorship, the whole thing. It was all razzmatazz last night, and you know Scottish football needs to do things like that. I think they could. Try and get somebody to try and adopt the same marketing policy from other sports to try and bring even more money into our game. It's a long show elsewhere on our calendar for that, but nevertheless, as far as European football is concerned, if Rangers have got a tough 90 minutes ahead of them, Celtic, Bodo Glimt, 8 o'clock kick-off Thursday. They should be confident. Should they be confident enough to think they can get through? I've been speaking to a few Celtic fans who are actually saying, I mean, one Celtic fan brought a smile to my face when he said, I'm thinking about booking tickets for Albania for the final, and I thought, damn your jets, you're getting ahead of yourself here. You know, there's still some really good sides left in that conference.
Yeah, there certainly is, and I'm surprised this team have got players to bring over here because they seem to be all getting sold to different clubs. You know, they're losing players left, right and centre. But Celtic on the night have to produce the goods. They have to show the fans that they can get back to that European style of football, and they certainly are doing it just now.
Yep. You see any problems, or do you think Celtic can build up a good enough lead?
I think Celtic have got a fair bit of momentum at their back just now. I think the weekend win was their 25th game unbeaten domestically. I think they take a bit of wind at their backs into the game. I think it's a flip side from what you normally get in European ties with Scottish teams in the summer, and that I think Norwegian football's still on a break. I don't think they're properly back into competitive football yet, so Celtic may be able to capitalise on that, but certainly they should feel fairly confident about negotiating it.
Yeah, okay. Now listen, it's been a weekend of madness as far as chairman, owners, chief executives pulling the plug. Our old friend, our old compadre on the couch here, Barry Ferguson, resigns at Alloa. I just felt as if he'd taken them as far as he possibly could. They're at the bottom end of the table, not the top where I think Barry wanted them to be.
Yeah, I just don't think results have went for them this season at all. You know, a lot of people would have expected Alloa to be challenging to win the league, to be honest, or at least top four. You know, they're sinking down towards that playoff place and for relegation. So a bad result on Saturday. You know, East Fife bottom of the league coming and turning you over 3-1. So, you know, you've got the run of results there. I think they've won one game in 12 or 13. So it's been a very, very poor run for Barry, and unfortunately he's lost his job. But you know, maybe he'll try and get in somewhere else. Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall. I think he sensed it himself, Ruffy, that he was under pressure over the last few weeks. You know, I think as Tam alluded to there, you're talking, 11 games, 1 win. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the same way any football club, you know, when you start moving down the bottom of the league, the first thing people start to panic that you're going to drop a division, and everybody knows the circumstances when you drop that division. It's even harder to get out the next one. So you can see why the likes of Alloa, the Queen of the South, have not panicked, but they've looked at the situation and hope that somebody else can come in and regenerate everything. Yeah, and Alan Johnson is a figure who had a good start to his managerial career, but this time around, for whatever reason, Alan and Sandy have been let go at Queen of the South. Yeah, I think they've had a very disappointing campaign too, and as Ruffy says, I think when you're at the bottom end, the chairman start to get very nervous about the financial costs that can come if you do slide down a league. Yeah, absolutely. And I always like our reporter Cheryl, who every now and then gives us a wee bit of notice of some stories that come out or things like that, and she's come up with posted a Valentine's Day poem which was on Twitter.
I'm not reading that. You can read it.
Well, I was just about to say, parties are fun if you're invited. Don't pick a manager from Atlanta United, which is quite scathing. I mean, they had me to post Cheryl's picture. I think there'd be Rangers fans at one end waiting on Ali, and then Aberdeen fans at the other end. look at his face. You know, mate. Listen, it's a tough game being a manager. Did you ever fancy it, Ruffy? I mean, apart from Glen Afton, you were good for 3 years. What happened?
Yeah, no, I'm good for 5 years. You got to finally Junior Cup, 3 out of 5, which was magnificent. And
heavily backed financially.
Well, come on.
Heavily backed financially at that point.
At the end of the day, I mean, the remit was win the Junior Cup. That was your remit, wasn't it?
What?
That was your remit when you were
Glen Afton. I think
Afton.
that's everybody's remit to enter the competition. You go in it to win it.
Yeah. Did you win the league
Brown
as well?
envelopes and set Blatter at Glen Afton.
You won the league. You won the league as
We
well.
won the 5 trophies that year, and that.
Yeah, there he is, the Pep Guardiola of his time.
No, I bought wisely. I bought players that I played not with, but had been in the clubs with. And it was a great crowd, and I was fortunate enough to have the same boys for 3 or 4 years, like Big Alec Kennedy and all these kind of guys.
Yeah. Did you not fancy a tilt at the big time?
I actually, I briefly was asked to apply for the Albion Rovers job, and I went and did the interview in the morning at Albion Rovers, and it went well. And then we played Kilburney in the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup in the afternoon. We beat them 5-0. And then the Monday they said they couldn't give me the job because they couldn't attract that kind of players that we had at Glen Afton.
Right, so that kind of...
You were paying more money than them.
That set the tone. Okay, fine, Ruffy. Elsewhere, listen, just before we get your thoughts on the Champions League, here's the English Premier League results from the weekend as well. And of course, our old pal Moisey started watching and I thought, is there an equaliser here in the 92nd minute? And there was. They drew 2-2 with Leicester. Wolves are pushing now. They're on the verge of trying to get into that top 4. Newcastle continue their winning ways with a 1-0 win over Aston Villa. Elsewhere, Liverpool good enough to get past Burnley. Closing in, is it enough to catch Man City? Some would doubt it. They hammered Norwich. And of course, Brighton managed to see off Watford, who I think Watford could be heading down unless Roy Hodgson can produce a wee bit of magic. Everton, Frank Lampard, first win at home as the Everton boss. And elsewhere, Man United's mediocrity continues. It's as simple as that, with a 1-1 against Southampton. Crazy times at United. Still haven't managed to solve the problems. Champions League, where's your money? There's a belter of a game on tomorrow night, Ruffy. PSG against Real Madrid.
No, PSG will do them.
Yeah.
Too much firepower up front.
He just picks everybody who's going to make money.
I know, absolutely. Well, that's why I picked Glen Afton. PSG, Real Madrid, and Sporting Lisbon against, I think it's Man City. I don't know why I picked Real Madrid. It's Man City tomorrow night. Ali, which game will you be watching?
PSG.
Yeah. Are you going for them to win?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Tam, where's your money on that one?
Tough. I think PSG will beat Real Madrid, but Man City will win the Champions League. I think they're a stick on.
Yeah?
I think they're a stick on to win the Champions League this year, Man City.
So this is finally their year to
Bayern
win
Munich
it?
get smashed at home at the weekend, 4-1 for Bochum or somebody.
Yeah.
Man City, the only team that I think will stop Man City will be Liverpool. I think it'll be an English domination again.
Yeah, okay. I did mention that 5 years ago, Ruffy, but nobody was listening.
I was on the show then.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, great days, Ruffy, eh? Where's Barry when you need him?
For a job.
Oh, you're scathing. Honestly, you're just going to try to upset everybody. You're
It's nasty,
unbelievable.
isn't it?
I'll get back to him.
Yep.
Anyway, and Salzburg against Bayern Munich, Inter Milan against Liverpool over Tuesday and Wednesday. Thanks to so many people for all their mentions about who they think should get the Aberdeen job, and of course your thoughts on all the games over the weekend in the Scottish Cup. We're back to domestic action after the European games as well. This week we've got some interesting guests on the programme. We've got a brilliant one-to-one coming up with Pat Nevin. He's released a book called The Accidental Footballer, and it's a brilliant read on not only his love of football but his love of music as well. And Pat and I sat down for a wee one-to-one and talked us through his career at Clyde, at Chelsea and Everton and Tranmere Rovers, and of course Killie and Motherwell. Of course he was chief executive at Motherwell, but some belter stories, Ruffy, and of course some players that he played with, you know, some of the stories in the book were absolutely mental. I mean, he wasn't a big fan of David Speedy.
No.
And he doesn't hold back. He
Roommate.
talks about sectarianism, he talks about racism, of course his role in the PFA chairman. Really good book.
Yeah, and he played with a lot of top class players, particularly down at Chelsea at that time, you know. Then he was the old style winger, you know, and I used to share magazines with him up the back of the bus going to games.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that because he's such a moron, because Pat would be reading art books and then Ruffy reading
Sunday sport.
No, yeah, a different kind of art, let me tell you. Anyway, that was two people from the total opposite end of the spectrum. But I'll tell you, I had a chat with him, and it's coming out as our latest one-to-one. There's a lot of good one-to-ones coming up with some managers and players past and present who are coming into the studio, and I think you're going to enjoy them. So hopefully, and Pat gave us his dream team as well, which was an absolute belter of a dream team. Will it rival Ruffy's? I think yours is going to...
Kerry Dixon in it.
Kerry Dixon, well, amazingly Kerry Dixon didn't get in it, and I'll give you this one Liverpool striker beat Kerry Dixon to the striking spot, because they had to pick Kerry Dalglish. One Liverpool striker that he played with at Tranmere Rovers.
Shane Rush.
John Aldridge.
John Aldridge.
What a belter.
John
What a
Aldridge.
great shout, Tam.
Yes.
You deserve full marks for that. Well done to you,
Like a
Tam.
quiz.
John, you do like a quiz.
Ruffy, unlucky.
Absolutely, it was John Aldridge. I'll tell you one thing, Ruffy, it's a good dream team he picked. Played with some really good players. Even the Scotland manager makes it into his dream team. Well worth watching. Anyway, apart from that, brilliant chat today, good banter, and of course today, it's amazing, we leave with normally Tam as the villain on the show, Ruffy as the likeable one, but today it's all Alison's. Alison is the villain on Monday's show.
Written Ramsey off already.
Yeah, absolutely delighted with it. Anyway, what? Thanks to Alison McConnell, thanks to Tam McManus and to Ruffy, and don't forget, hit the subscribe button, join the football family, come along, support your team, give us your messages, give us your opinion, we'd love that. And if you get a chance, download the PLZ Soccer app as well. Subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and from all of us here, we'll speak to you again tomorrow at 4.